Niccolo Machiavelli, a name that conquers images of political scheming, cold calculation, and a world where power rules above all else. But was he really the villain history painted him to be? Or was he simply holding up a mirror to human nature, showing us the truth of how people and power really work? Who was Niccolo Machiavelli? To understand Machiavelli's ideas, we need to understand the man himself. Born in Florence in 1469, Machiavelli lived in a city-state that was boiling pot of art, politics. This was the Renaissance, but it wasn't all beauty and enlightenment. Florence was a battleground of rival families, external threats, and shifting alliances. Machiavelli served as a diplomat and a civil servant, gaining first-hand experience with the messy reality of power. He observed ruthless rulers like Caesar Borgia, who inspired much of The Prince, the book that Machiavelli wrote. Yet Machiavelli himself was not born into wealth or privilege. He worked his way into the political machine, only to be exiled and imprisoned when the Medici family regained power. It was during this exile that Machiavelli wrote his famous work, The Prince. He wrote it not as an endorsement, but as a guide for leaders who wanted to maintain order in a chaotic world. Machiavelli's philosophy, the raw reality of power, is often misunderstood. People hear Machiavellian and think of lies, manipulation, and ruthless, but his actual philosophy is more complex. He believed in studying human nature, not as we wish it to be, but as it is. He wrote, "It must be considered that there is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle, than to initiate a new order of things. Change is hard, and power is rarely clean." Machiavelli observed that people are motivated by self-interest, fear, and the pursuit of security. Leaders, he argued, need to account for these instincts. He wasn't saying leaders should abandon morality, only that morality alone won't keep you in power. What can we learn from Machiavelli? Machiavelli's lessons aren't just for rulers. They apply to anyone navigating relationships, workplaces, or social structures. Here are 3 takeaways. Understand human nature. Machiavelli believed that human behavior is predictable. Thucydides, centuries before him, wrote that human nature is the same in all ages. People act out of fear, greed, love, and ambition. Patterns that repeat across history. By recognizing these traits, you can better anticipate and respond to these actions of others. Balance ethics with pragmatism. He famously wrote, "The ends justify the means." But this isn't just a call for immorality. Instead, it's a warning that rigorous adherence to ideals can leave you vulnerable. Machiavelli's valued results, stability, security, and the survival of the state over appearance. Machiavelli believed fortune favored bold, but only those who prepared for uncertainty. He advised leaders to act decisively when opportunities arose, but remain flexible when plans went airy. Let's go. Centuries later, Machiavelli's insights still resonate, whether in politics, business, or social life. His acknowledgement of human flaws feels strikingly modern. Why? Because human nature hasn't changed. Think of modern political scandals or corporate power plays. Machiavelli's principles are at work. Strength without strategy leads to downfall. Morality without pragmatism leads to exploitation. And yet, Machiavelli leaves room for goodness, just not naive. The question then is whether we agree with Machiavelli's worldview. Was he right to suggest that power requires compromise? Or is there room for idealism in a world that often rewards the cunning? This brings us back to Thucydides and the history of the Peloponnesian War. He observed that nations and individuals often act out of fear, honor, or interest. Machiavelli, writing 2,000 years later, echoed this sentiment. Perhaps he hasn't enduring cruelty. He was simply describing the rules of a game that always been played. Machiavelli's advice might feel cold, but it's also clear-eyed. He didn't ask us to abandon goodness, only to protect it with wisdom. So the question is, can you survive in a world that rewards ruthlessness without losing who you are? Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is Machiavelli offering timeless wisdom or just a justification for human flaws? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.